Hello everyone, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mrhappy, aka Mrhappy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and, well, I answer them. Right off the bat, let's get started. Let's make some room. Let's step aside real here, and we got all this stuff. I've actually got quite a few videos that are coming soon that aren't up here that I kind of wanted to have up here. One of them's going to be like a Devilian leveling guide. One of them's going to be a Cannoneer guide. I've started leveling a Berserker. I want to do a system explanation guide on Devilian as well. For those who don't know what Devilian is, it's an MMO action RPG, so it's like Diablo 3 isometric type of view. And it's a lot of fun. It's not anything super crazy, but I think that it's got a pretty good basic touch to it. You know, it's got plenty of dungeons, it's got raids on the horizon, it's got PvP, it's got a variety of ways to level up, it's got a pretty big world, it's got a lot of features that benefit you to play with other people, which is something that's kind of missing in MMOs nowadays. So, I've been enjoying it thus far. I plan to continue enjoying it over the next several weeks, or, you know, however long I decide to end up playing it. But I want to do some guides for it while I'm playing it, because I haven't played a good action RPG in a while, and, you know what, I have a lot of fun when I'm playing Devilian. Can't really ask for much more than that. Also, later this week, we have a couple of things. One, Wednesday, going to be streaming the Anima questline on my alt. So we're going to start that, see how the Anima questline works, because that's coming out this Wednesday. I'm surprised to see it coming out on a Wednesday, though. That's such a weird thing. What that tells me is somebody pointed out that Verminion tournaments reset on Wednesdays, and I don't think that has anything to do with the Anima weapon. There might be some quality of life stuff to Lords of Verminion coming in that patch, though. So we're also on the potential lookout for nerfs to Thoradin or nerfs to Alexander Savage. I don't think we'll see nerfs to Savage, but nerfs to Thoradin are possible. I don't think they should. I think he's the perfect difficulty, but you never know. They said they would analyze the clear rates and see what they were going to do. So who knows? Maybe we will, maybe we won't. Thursday, we're going to be streaming Black Desert Online. Now, this is a game I'm not, like, super hyped for. It's a game I want to keep on my radar because I've been paying attention to it for years, along with Blade and Soul, ever since I saw that beautiful, beautiful character creator. But I don't know if it's going to be the game for me. I don't know content-wise. I'm not very good with sandboxes, first of all. I'll be flat out. It's just not my kind of thing. Like, I didn't show any interest in Arcade. I played Minecraft back in the day, but Minecraft was really a simpler sandbox. You know, it wasn't this kind of action RPG type sandbox. So, I don't really know, but we have a bunch of codes to give away for the beta, so we'll be doing that. And I don't know, I'll just give it a shot, see what I think of it, and come back to you guys with some sort of thoughts video. Hopefully that's something that you'll enjoy. We have one more Blade and Soul video tomorrow, and we have Blade and Soul next week. Next week will be the final closed beta test for Blade and Soul. We'll be giving away a Masters pack and a Disciples pack for that next weekend. So looking forward to that as well. Got to stream that one more time tomorrow, another sponsored stream. But overall, it's been crazy in the MMO world. There's so many things I'm glad to finally be able to try, and then to always have 14 to come back, to fall back on my MMO, the MMO I know and love. So, I'm glad that I'll be able to bring you a little bit more Final Fantasy XIV stuff. This week, we also have the live letter on the 23rd. We will be doing a live translation with Marco. Of course, thank you, Marco. Always offering to do it. I always feel guilty asking him, so when he comes to me, I'm like, yeah, we'll do it. And he did that this time, so. Anyway, with all those announcements out of the way, with the videos that you clicked on before, what do you say we get into answering some questions? First question. Hey, Mrhappy, have a really awesome triple pepperoni sausage, extra bacon, and buffalo chicken stuffed crust pizza bonus because I'm hungry and you should share. Anyway, so after being parsed by my best friend for the first time, I've become super DPS conscious despite being on the PlayStation 4. Since then, I have worked hard to increase my DPS across all classes, seeing exceptionally higher numbers, even tanking, but now I find myself unable to play classes that have lower outputs than mainly Paladin and Machinist Bard. Wow, Paladin does not have a very high output. Neither does Machinist Bard. You mean, you mean like Paladin and Machinist Bard. Okay, I was confused for a second, like, those are low output. I find myself restricted to only playing Dragon, Monk, Warrior, Dark Knight, because with those classes I can usually top charts within my role. Despite enjoying playing Machinist and considering maining it, I get discouraged by the low numbers, even though I know it's supposed to have low numbers. So, let's be clear, low numbers, they're not supposed to be like hundreds and hundreds of points behind the others. They're supposed to be a decent chunk behind, but not so much to the point where you're like, damn, how did you even do that much? Because you also have to remember you're responsible for a lot of that DPS. So I wouldn't pay so much attention to what you do compared to the other jobs. Look at what you do compared to other people playing the same job. That's the more important thing, because it's not about what your skill ceiling is as a player. It's about what your skill ceiling is as a job, and making sure that you as a player can achieve that. So I would just say that's your biggest thing. Focus on other people playing your job, not other jobs, especially jobs that are designed to be higher personal DPS output than jobs like Bard, Machinist, and Paladin. Just compare yourself to other people within your job. I said it 3 times. I think that's the answer. Let's move on. Next question. Hey, Happy, Christmas is coming, so take the minion of your choice. I want the penguin, because I don't think I'll ever get the penguin otherwise. 1, I'd like to hear your opinion on what the dev teams could do to change the current dungeon scheme in the future. Make them less linear. Problem is, as soon as you make one dungeon less linear, you have to make them all less linear, because otherwise people, no matter what you do, people will find the quickest dungeon. That'll be their go-to. I don't know. I like when they do things where you have to, like, turn on and off objects or carry things or maybe break down a wall or things like that. Like, I think Castrum, Meridianum, is a good example of a dungeon that feels pretty varied. It also feels unnecessarily stretched. So, I don't know. There's a few things they could do, but I think it just comes down to the fact that the dungeon itself needs to be a bit more threatening. I think they kind of weaned away from that for St. Mosion's. Pharaoh's felt somewhat annoying with the time bombs and other, sort of things that could interrupt you or could deal damage to you, but it's hard, because at this point in MMOs, we've seen it all. Like, some things will impress, like, oh, that's neat, and then it's past us. Like, I'm more interested in seeing them do more interesting things with raids than I am just to change it within dungeons. And your second question was, do you think a dungeon with no trash mobs but different challenges could be incorporated into game? Examples: 4 pads on the ground, 1 for each class type. The pads transport you to individual rooms, so the DPS have to meet a certain amount of damage in a given time. Well, see, this sounds like something that would work for their idea of like a 4-man, like, extreme dungeon, where it really puts you to a test. But this is something they could just incorporate in the training ground as well. It doesn't need to necessarily be in a dungeon. But it would be nice to have something like this. The thing is, I don't know. I don't think you can have... You can definitely have no trash. I mean, they've been doing it with bosses, with their Coil bosses and their Alexander bosses, especially Savage. Savage literally puts you right at the boss and skips you all the trash, minus Faust, of course. So while this is possible, I expect that so many people would complain it would get nerfed anyway, and it would lose the point. I mean, we were just talking about nerfing Thoradin, when I feel Thoradin is the perfect difficulty for an extreme primal. That being said, I mean, these ideas are fun, they're cool, but they fulfill a desire for a very small part of the community. And that's always an issue with these good ideas, with these niche ideas, is they are so niche that it's questionable if they would survive in the game. Me, personally, I'm almost always up for anything that isn't, like, ridiculous. Like, things like this seem normal, they seem fun, they seem to be a good test of player character, of the player's skills. So, I'm always down, but I don't think this kind of content would survive in the game. Like, it would be a one-off thing that they would never do again. Next question. Hey, Hap, seems that you're jumping branches on my tree of questions, so take this. My first thought I trashed, so can be ignored. Skill trees or trait trees? It's a good thing you trashed that one, because that's weird, because a skill tree can have traits in it. I'm not gonna say anything else. That's good. All right. Good thing you trashed that one. The question which made the cut is this: the player of 14 is practically able to do everything on one character except for some crafting stuff. Should this possibility stay, or should it be like an RO where you have some skill builds which are nice but totally garbage? Well, the thing about RO, the thing is, I never played real RO. I had friends that stuck me on, like, an RO private server one time when I was at their house, and I played RO2, which is where I met my girlfriend. So, in RO2, you cannot compare to RO1 at all. It's a pointless thing to do. So, I like it. It's one of the things that I liked about 11, even to this day, as much as I kind of harp on it. It's still one of the things I like about 14. It makes it so that I can be on my ninja and I can gear out my other jobs and whatnot, especially if they're ones I eventually need to play in Savage. So it's something I definitely don't want to see go away. I just want to see it, I guess, supported a little bit better. Like, the class job system is kind of awkward. The amount of inventory space is, of course, a little bit stretched. But I'm a hoarder, so honestly, like, I don't feel like I have an opinion. I could just level everything, and then I have no reason to hoard anything, because I don't friggin', like, do anything. But it's like, what if they release a new job later? I have to save this in case they ever release a new job, and then I never get rid of it. So, GG no re. I don't know. I want skill builds, but even with skill trees and trait trees, like, there would always be something that's garbage. I think they would honestly make it so that it's just a choice between, like, one or two things, and then, you know, neither of them are trash. One of them's just better in single target, one's better in AoE. I don't see it being any more complicated than that. Next question. GG, have fun, Mr. Happy. You too. So I love the gold saucer, and I enjoy doing gates, but at the moment there's about a handful of different gates. Do you know or have heard any news or rumors about when SC is planning to add more? You know, I want them to add more, because the gates, as much as people kind of look at them like, they're stupid little mini games, they're fun, they're nice distractions, they always have been, and in my opinion, they still are. The Typhon game is obviously a favorite. I like the parkour game. The only one I'm not very good at is the differences, where you have to point out the differences between them. The Simon Says one's kind of... it takes too much time. Like, it's so simple, and you can honestly just spam emotes to figure everything out. Like, it's not strict enough in its timing. So I would like to see more gates. I'm not very creative when it comes to mini games. Like, I could think of mechanics in fights that I could come up with that I could imagine could be incorporated into mini games, but I don't know what they'll do for new gates. What about the Blitzball rumor? No. So actually, I won't say that they never said Blitzball could make it. I remember Yoshi P was talking with the director or producer of Final Fantasy X and said, yeah, people want it. And the guy was like, wow, really? Maybe one day. And I just went, oh, God. I feel like Blitzball is kind of like Chocobo Racing and Triple Triad and now Lords of Verminion. It's one of those things where everyone goes, oh, I would play the shit out of that. And then they take it from a single-player setting, put it in an MMO setting, and all of a sudden people are like, well, what the fuck? Like, I'm not going to spend any time doing this. Why'd they waste time on developing it? I feel like it's a waste of development to make something as robust as Blitzball. And if they do the Blitzball from 10.2, it's not worth it for anybody, because nobody liked that shit. So I could honestly, personally, care less about ever seeing Blitzball. I'd rather see simpler things like the snowboarding minigame or the battle arena from 7. That's not simple at all. That would be really, really interesting. But ultimately, the Gold Saucers, I feel, always going to be filled with things that people like for very short periods of time. There are some people that do it all the time, and then it just kind of falls to the wayside. So they're in a rough spot with the Gold Saucer. I'm curious to see where it goes from now till the next event, which should be coming out in 3.3 for the Gold Saucer. Next question. Happy Week 70, Mr. Happy. Here are some pre-Xmas cookies. I like cookies. 2 questions for you for possible future scenarios. In 2.0 and 3.0, we have over-encompassing threats from Bahamut and Alexander in the form of multi-part raid content. What other major Final Fantasy threats, summons, Eidolons, Aeons could fit the bill as major raid content for future expansions? I really hope they don't do another just, what's the most threatening primal or summon from a previous game, let's make them a raid. I want them, just like I wanted them with Void Ark, to come up with something original using Final Fantasy assets, which I think they did perfectly. I think Void Ark was the perfect introduction to something that is actually unique to Final Fantasy XIV. I want to see that next in in the 4.0 raid. So I have ideas myself. Square Enix, you ever need someone who has fresh ideas, call me. But yeah, like you're mentioning here, like weapons is one of them. I don't know. I don't want to see more recycled summons. I want to see more original stuff that makes 14 memorable for what it is, not what it draws inspirations from, or what it copies from from the other games in the series. And the other is, we've seen Derplander be a warrior in 2.0 and Dragon for 3.0. What jobs do you think he will take on in the future? Samurai. You damn straight he's gonna be a samurai. That's my guess. Alright, next question. Hey, Mr. Happy, have all the Final Fantasy VII episodes in at once for bonus. Wow. Sick burn. That would be nice, though. January 31st, 2017. I'll dig it. My question for this week is, are the Alexander Savageries easier to do after 3.1? With Esoteric Tomes being upgradable to 210 and having Thornton weapons, should people still have the same problems meeting DPS checks and needing tanks and heals to output more DPS to complete the fight? So, they shouldn't need it as much. Let's be clear. For example, the group that I clear in, we almost always clear in the 4th cascade or something like that. Like, we don't ever see the 5th cascade, pretty much. And if we do, we see it and then it dies immediately after. And that's usually with spaghetti, like if somebody messes up and we lose a little bit of DPS. That's the only time we do it. And that's with healers and tanks, outputting DPS, outputting a lot of DPS. That's like 2.5 to 3 minutes ahead of the enrage. Like, Your tanks are obviously, no matter what, going to put out damage. If you're off tanking, you have no excuse to try and output more damage. It's the main tank who's taking the damage that most people are concerned about. And the healers, I mean, if you don't need to do anything, then it shouldn't hurt to throw out a couple of spells here and again, even if you're not like super crazy, especially in the first like minute. Like, you should be able to do a lot of DPS as a healer in the first minute. But it really comes down to this. The groups that, okay, so the groups that didn't need to need the gear to meet these checks are the groups that beat it early on. You know, the groups that beat it in week 2 and week 3. They obviously didn't need the gear to beat A3, but they are the groups playing their jobs at the percentage where, you know, that's the case. And then you get to the groups that come way later on. You know, sometimes they have scheduling, sometimes people just join raid groups, sometimes raid groups are made late. I'm not going to say it's all on player skill, but I have a feeling that a lot of people would not defend their raid groups and how they perform. I see it all the time where people go, oh, someone always messes up on Hand of Pain, or, you know, we're always this close, or somebody doesn't stun an ad. And it's like, there's always somebody willing to throw someone else under the bus, which sucks, because you should be looking at how to improve as a group, not throw somebody else under the bus. That being said, with all the 205 weapons that are available, even just the I-200 weapons, and the number of 210 loot that is available, it shouldn't be that big of a problem. I mean, it wants DPS to play their jobs properly. If you say, at this point, if you say our healer didn't put out enough DPS, that's why we can't beat A3 Savage, I have to question how much damage your actual DPS are outputting, all 4 of them. It is an honest truth that if you aren't pulling, like, as a ninja, like at least 1200 or even just 1150, we'll go on the lower end, like, then you need to improve as a ninja. Obviously, if you wipe and you're down for God knows how long, it affects it, but those should be like minimum numbers that are being hit in the gear that's available right now on A3. And people can't just keep blaming the fact that the healers and the tanks don't output enough. They should be willing to. I feel like if you're going into Savage, you need to be a player who's willing to think outside the box and act outside the box. It's hardcore content. That's what it's meant for. But you can't come all the way down. I feel like a lot of it comes down to DPS that do not perform their job properly. Also, on a related topic, do you think the next set of Alexander raids will require healers and tanks to output DPS too? Yeah. I mean, no matter what, they're going to make it so that if you want to beat it early, that's going to be the case. That being said, I don't think it's going to be as stressed in the next Alexander Savage raid. I expect that it's still going to be welcome. And honestly, if a raid is even easier, so much so to the point where the healer DPS isn't as needed, then that just makes the healer DPS even better. Because you can just beat the fight even faster. You can skip phases. You can kill ads faster. The boss will die faster. You know what's the easiest way to mitigate damage? Kill the boss faster. You can't deal damage if he's dead. So I think that when it comes down to mechanics, they should design stuff that burdens the healers on healing, or they should burden the tanks on tanking. I think that that is the right approach, but if they don't do that, healer DPS and tank DPS is never going to stop being a thing. I'm curious as how they're changing the tank damage formulas in 3.2, which they said they're doing. That's the more interesting thing to me. But I just don't ever expect a fight that's on the level of a primal in Savage, like, unless it's like Thornton. Like, it's gonna always be something that's above the difficulty of the Alexander raids. Alright, next question. Hey, Mr. Happy, I also play on Greg, and recently I noticed a lot of ads on the Party Finder, usually Elysium, hello, about selling Alexander Savage and Thornton Extreme. Correct me if I'm wrong. No, you're very right. With all due respect, I just want to hear your opinion on selling endgame content and clears for Gil. If you care to hear my opinion compared to general consensus. I'll read it off camera, or I'll have already read it off camera. I guess it'd be weird if I cut and then just read it right now. My opinion on it is go for it. Like, I played 11 for about 7 years, and for most of it I sold content in Final Fantasy 11. Like, it was a super normal thing to do. If you were a link shell that had something monopolized and you didn't need it anymore, you were basically just turning down money, and everyone would just, and then that's it. You would just sell. You'd be like selling Hauteclaire, 7 mil if drop, you know, selling Algol, 1 mil if drop, you know, all that stuff was pretty normal back then. And it's been normal in MMOs for a long time. Like, I don't see how it's any different in 14. I just feel like it's a lot more vocal. That the people that don't like it are a lot more vocal in 14 than in any other game I've ever played. In World of Warcraft, you literally had groups that were put together that were called, I think it was GDKP runs, where people would go in to the raid, and you would just bid against each other to win a piece of loot, and then all the money would be distributed across everybody, and that person basically bought their loot. So if you were poor, you could go there with the intention of making some money, although you had to have a minimum amount of gold so you could compete against other auctioneers. And then if you were rich, you could get all the loot you wanted, and if it didn't drop, you didn't spend a dime, and you could just do it next week. So, I mean, like, it's just been such a normal thing in MMOs for so long that I see nothing wrong with it. There's a demand, and they're fulfilling it. Now, I'm gonna quickly, I might as well just do it right now. Offering clears for Gil inflates the value of Gil, which generally benefits RMT and Gil farming bots. It only benefits them if people buy it instead of playing the game, and this game is very easy to make money in. That's more, the bigger thing that encourages RMT and Gil farming bots is the fact that we live in a generation where in the West, it is basically, you know, an instant gratification generation of gamers. And if they see I can get this Gil now and get this instead of I can farm Gil and get this, they'll most of the time take the one that just cost a few dollars out of their wallet. People are very willing to pay for convenience in this day and age, and I feel like that's the bigger problem. And then we have the second one, TLDR. The game wasn't designed for you to be able to pay your way through content and reach a false sense of accomplishment. I don't think anyone feels accomplished when they buy a run. I've sold runs to shit before. Nobody ever feels accomplished. They say, thank you, and they leave. They're never like, I'm badass. They're like, fuck yeah. They're like, oh, thank God I got that achievement. Like, I just couldn't live without that achievement. It's more of a completionist thing, like, I couldn't get it done, and I need to get it. This is my final trophy for the PlayStation 4. That was the bigger thing. So it is what it is. The people who genuinely want to clear it will genuinely clear it. The people who don't will buy it. And there's no way around it. And honestly, I don't see any point in trying to attack it as an issue. It's gonna be there, no matter what anyone does. We got some good questions this week. Holy hell. Next one. Hey, Mr. Happy. Long time no post. Real life. Yay. Hey, real life is always good. To make up for not asking a question for a while, how about I buy you lunch? Five Guys. I'm not a big Five Guys fan. I think it's overrated. It's just like the burger is like this, like, wide, and it's like this tall, and it just hurts my mouth to try and eat. That's what she said. Anyway, honestly, I can't think of a major significant question. That's always a good thing to leave, so I'll ask a few short ones. One, do you think stun and silence mechanics should be adjusted? Logically, if you think about it, the game seems to support this. Any attack that can be silenced can also be stunned, but not every attack that can be stunned can be silenced. That's not entirely true. Oh, I guess I see what you're saying. Well, okay, so silence works on anything that is considered a spell cast. That includes anything that has a voice mechanic with it. So, like, if they have to chant something or it has something to do with voices, then it usually works. That's, of course, if they program the boss, like turn 7 didn't work. But stun, they just very directly need to be able to be stunned. And a lot of the times, if a specific mechanic is going to be stunnable, it means the whole boss needs to be stunnable. Now, there are ways around that. You can make it so a boss is immune to stun, except when this happens. A4 is a perfect example of that. And I feel like that's a decent execution of incorporating the stun mechanic into the game, while not making sure that it can't be used as an abuse case against you know, certain mechanics of the fight. But I don't think it really needs to be adjusted. I would just like to see it used more. Not to the point where it was in, like, turn 2, but it is nice to see those mechanics appear in actual in-game content. Especially like A3. Both silence and stun were very effective there. And 2, I like to level all of my jobs so that, if need be, I can help out basic content. I agree, I do the same thing. While I can't say I have the top tier DPS, I'd like to think I can handle my jobs pretty well. If you just heard my headset beep, it's because it died. I'm just going to take it off now, might as well. I'd like to think I can handle my jobs pretty well. I currently have Scholar, Summoner, Ninja, Bard, White Mage, Astro, Machinist at 60, and I'm working on my Monk and Dragoon. It's making me a bad player, Jack of all trades, Master of none. I mean, if you're not raiding, first of all, play however you want. If you are raiding, just make sure you're good on the one job you're raiding on, and that you can do anything else as anything else. Like, there's nothing bad about that. It's being flexible. And I think a lot of people appreciate flexibility in this game. The game is designed with flexibility in mind, except for those weekly tombstone caps. And then number 3, to continue with my second question, while I do level each job, I mostly focus on mastering Scholar, Summoner, Bard, and Ninja. That's a lot of jobs to try and master all at once. These seem like good alternate jobs. First of all, Scholar is amazing. Bard is needed in almost every raid. Ninja is very valued right now. And Summoner, while most people kind of put Black Mage above it, I think Summoner is perfectly on par with it. It probably won't pull as big of a number, but the job itself brings enough utility on top of the fact that it's just good. Like, it's not an underpowered job at all, pretty much, is the easiest way to put it. So I think that, yeah, those are all good jobs. I don't think there's any, you don't have to have me validate a job. I mean, all the jobs can do everything in the game, regardless of what the internet might tell you. So yeah, it's perfectly fine. I think switching to 1 or 2 for rating is smarter. But, I mean, if you really are at that master level, who's to say you can't play all 4, right? Just do whatever you want, man. If you're rating, then pick 1 or 2. If you're not, do whatever you want. There's no one can tell you what's the right or wrong way to play when you're not having 7 other people rely on you so often as you're doing rating. Alright, so I had to skip a pretty good question just because it was really long, and I've been actually getting really into my answers today. So I'm going to take a few shorter questions. If I have time, I'll go back to it because it was actually a pretty good question that I've read through already. So anyway, next question. I see you, Happy. I see you. Yeah, boy! Anyway, not a first-time poster, so have a pancake. I'm not hungry right now. And my question is about Twitch. How does subscribing to your channel work? Okay, well, sellout mode. So, by subscribing on Twitch, all you have to do is go under the stream, click the little subscribe button. It says $4.99. You can pay it one time. You can pay it monthly, whatever works for you. If you just want to do it one time just to show support, it's almost like a little donation. Or if you do it monthly and it's a monthly support, you get little pop-ups on the screen every month that you're able to share with everyone. And on top of that, you get access to 15 unique subscriber emotes you can use anywhere on Twitch, 5 times the chance to win on non-sponsored giveaways. Sponsored giveaways, everyone has an even chance. And you get to vote on Subscriber Appreciation Day. Every Sunday, I play a game voted on by the subs. And if it's a multiplayer game, I play it with them. If not, I just play it solo. And whatever wins, I play without question. But I make sure I'm putting games on there that I'm interested in playing. That way I'm not forcing myself to do anything. So that way it's still entertaining for everybody. And that's pretty much how it is. If you are on mobile, it's harder to sub. You can do it, but most people, don't really know how to work it. So we have an ! sub command in the chat. You just click that, click on the button, and then go to the payment page, and you're good to go. We're currently working on our way up to 800 subs right now. We're in the 760 to 770 range, even after taking a huge hit after Extra Life's event last month, where we had over 50 subs donate for sub for charity. A lot of them stayed this month. I don't know if that was an accident, but we did have about a 30 sub fall off from around then. So I'd say we're doing pretty good, and we are well on our way to the 800 sub mark by the new year. Next question. Yo, Haps, may your chicken knife strike true. That's me stabbing you with my chicken knife. So my question is, I've been thinking about mounts and how they could be implemented in something else. How would chocobo racing with your selected mount be instead of racing chocobos? I guess, technically, as long as they can make the abilities make sense, because a lot of the abilities have chocobo in their name. I guess if it was just a vanity thing and it didn't matter, like, what does it matter? The only thing is that would mean that they would need to incorporate every mount into the ability to be used in the chocobo races, and you can't even ride the chocobos outside of the chocobo race. You're literally raising them just for that. So I don't think the internal structure is there to be able to do it. It's a neat idea, there's nothing wrong with the idea, but in terms of actually incorporating it, that is a lot of work. That is not a simple thing to do. So honestly, I don't even want to put that on them when chocobo racing functions as is, especially because still nobody would do chocobo racing, so it doesn't matter. I feel like most of the 2.x ground mounts are kind of redundant now, so it may be fun. Maybe, but it's not a simple thing to do. Like, I'll tell you that right now, that what you just suggested is pretty much on the same level as them getting chocobos to work while we're trying to queue into the duty finder. Like, odds are to be so long before it happened that you wouldn't even care by the time it did. Next question. Hey, Happy. Not my first question, so no ESO bonus, but you can have an episode of Final Fantasy VII. That's another one. Possible spoilers in this one, but... Oh, guys. Possible spoilers. Oh, it's not even a spoiler. I just read it real quick, so it's too late anyway. But do you think that in the future main story they will reference the Warriors of Darkness being at the Battle of Carteneau? People have suggested that. I think that's a completely not plausible thing. Because it's pretty clear that the legacy players are the players who are at Carteneau, not the Warriors of Darkness. It would just take... You would have to create so many loopholes for that to even be remotely possible. I am going to say that flat out, I feel it is impossible that that is the case. So it is literally us, the legacy players. We are the players at Carteneau in the depiction of Derplander and his friends. Alright, next question. Hi, Happy. First time here, but since you're probably capped on ESOs, I have a Final Fantasy 13 Adamantoise mount. Oh, shit, those things are huge. I'll take it. That's what she said. 2 questions, 1 quick and 1 middle length. Okay, thanks for the heads up. 1, if Heavensward is more or less of a Dragoons expansion, what with Estinian, Ishgard, and everything, I think the next expansion will showcase another job. I don't think it'll make a job its icon. I think that... Because the thing is, I don't think Ala Mhigo is really a samurai kind of place. And I already said earlier, I think that Derplander is going to become a samurai. I just don't think that they're going to necessarily make it a samurai-centric thing, because I think the samurai thing is going to come from Doma, not from Alamigo. So, no, I don't think the next one will focus on a job. Good question, though. And number 2, given what you said last week about Tornado Kick and Forbidden Chakra, I wonder if I'm doing enough decent enough DPS as a monk. I keep Dragon Kick, True Strike, oh no, I'm sorry, Twin Snakes, Demolish, and Touch Death all the time, that's fine. But what I do is this: once I have Grease Lightning 3, all my dots and buffs up, I pop Blood for Blood and IR, wreak as much havoc as possible while I can, leaving both Forbidden Chakra and at the end do Tornado Kick. Never do that. Never use Tornado Kick unless the boss is jumping and you won't miss more than one more GCD. Never use Tornado Kick while you are maintaining uptime on the boss. It is only there for either bursting down a target to ensure you can burst down that target and nothing else, or you're going to have no targets to hit for the next 14 seconds and you will lose your Grease Lightning stacks otherwise. So do not do that. And yeah, don't do that. And also don't use meditation stacks unless there's nothing to hit as well, and you don't need to change form to get back into co-whirl stance real quick. Yeah, it's inefficient. Don't do it. Also, keep in mind, I'm gonna assume your opener should be, if I'm not mistaken, it's change form, make sure you have 5 meditation stacks, you demolish. I'm probably gonna fuck this up because I'm gonna mess up the off global cooldowns. So change form into co-whirl. So you start with demolish, perfect balance, snap punch, blood for blood, snap punch, internal release, dragon kick, strength potion, Twin Snakes. I can't remember what the next one is. I think it's Elixir Field, Twin Snakes, Steel Peak, Touch of Death, Howling Fist. No, I think it's no, it's Howling Fist. Yeah, Steel Peak, Touch of Death, Howling Fist, Boot Shine, Shoulder Tackle if you didn't have to use it in the opener. If not, Forbidden Chakra, then True Strike, then Forbidden Chakra, then Demolish, and that's the end of opener. Then at that point you just keep rotating between the sides and popping your off global cooldowns. When Perfect Balance comes back up, I'm pretty sure that's the only thing I'm actually unaware of, because I've never been in a fight that's long enough on my monk to actually use it, and I haven't researched it at all. But I'm pretty sure that you don't just pop Tornado Kick and then Perfect Balance afterwards either. I'm pretty sure that you just perfect balance with all the stacks. You just go fucking ham on snap punches while making sure you don't lose your buffs by the end of it. So yeah, definitely don't Tornado Kick. You do not want to do that while you're maintaining uptime on the boss. That's just how it is. Next question. Hi there, Hap. Have a new wind-up Ifrit. Yes! Still looks better than the Summoner Eggies. Anyway, I've been thinking about new traits that could set the 3 healers apart, and I came up with this. What if each healer had a different resurrect? No. No. Because as soon as you do that, then that means you have to buff the healer LB3 also. I want you to keep that in mind. Now, healer LB3 is already OP as shit, but that would have to mean you'd buff that as well. Let me see what you say. Maybe you say something else. They would act the same as before, except for 1 or 2 things. Astral Illusion Ascent could bring the target back to death with full health. That would be really fucking OP. Like, really. Like, that would have to cost way more MP. Scholar Resurrection could be the target back without weakness. Okay, never mind. That's even more OP. And the White Mage Raise could either bring someone back like normal or can cast on a target still alive and give them re-raise for 30 seconds. I don't know. I don't think that would... Okay, first of all 3 of those are way too overpowered. I know they're just examples, but White Mage and Scholar would dominate even more. It would set them apart. It would also make nobody pick Astro, because yeah, while coming back to health, coming back to life with full HP is great. Coming back to life without weakness or brink of death, especially if you have somebody who dies twice, is the most godlike thing I've ever heard of in my life. As for the White Mage, with the raise being with that mechanic, they would... Think about a Force Savage with that. Your White Mage would raise 3 people before the mechanic comes out. I know that sounds like it's a ridiculous use of MP, but 3 raises have to go out anyway. And then they would just all get back up, and then that would be it. Like, I don't know, you would so easily be able to determine we are going to you're basically you saying, we are going to sacrifice this person. You're never going to be like, well, in case this person dies. No, you're going to be like, we're going to fucking sacrifice this person. They're going to die, and we don't have to worry about a damn thing. I don't think that would balance anything at all. And then on top of that, the healer LB3, either each one would need to be different, or it would need to do all 3 of those things. And that is really fucking ridiculous. Because then, it's just even more ridiculous. This is what it is. So, yeah, broken. You said interesting or broken? Here, I'll scroll down. Interesting or broken? Broken. Next question. Hola, Senor Feliz. I've been watching your content for a long time and just wanted to say thank you so much for all the work you do. First time asker, so I have a cookie cake bonus. Sorry, I turned into Fernando. I've been getting a friend of mine into 14. He's a longtime WoW player who loves his PvP. He's lost. He's a lost cause, dude. He's going to stay with WoW, trust me. He says the main deal breaker for him is the game lacks quite a lot in that department. It got me thinking, do you think the developers have the potential to make PvP for this game well developed, very successful for those hardcore PvP types? If so, what would you like to see them? Well, first of all, we're getting Wolves Den 2 in patch 3.2, which is basically ranked PvP, ranked arenas, which is something that I felt like we needed for a long time anyway. Like, I feel like PvP is pointless if you can't use it as EPing against somebody else. I just feel like that's the majority of what PvP people want. Some people just want fun PvP, and for that we have Battlegrounds. Issue number 2. We don't have enough Battlegrounds, or we don't, especially because the only one we have, we only have one level 60. Why are the other two level 50? I understand everyone would probably abandon Seal Rock, and that Secure, while it's fun, still is flawed, and a lot of people try to avoid it, but they could. I think the combat being, I think having a 2.5 second global cooldown works fine in PvE content. It doesn't feel like it's a short global cooldown, but it makes it a little bit odd in, like, tight-knit PvP. Like, it's okay in the Battlegrounds, but in the tight-knit PvP, it starts to kind of, it starts to suffer. They could do it. I'm not going to say they can't, but it doesn't seem to be a focus. Final Fantasy's always been a PvE experience, so I think they're going to stick with that. But who knows? You never know. And number 2, I think that you mentioning at some point you found an alternative ninja opener to the one you posted after 3.0. Where can I find it? That is the Shasta opener, and it's pretty much identical to most degree. You're still doing the same things within the same period of time. The difference is that your pull macro is 3 seconds longer, and you do Suiton before the pull actually begins. This eliminates, or you prepare Suiton and then hit the boss with Suiton as the pull begins. This eliminates a 3-step mudra in your opener, which does indeed increase your initial DPS right there. The only concern is the timing of your blood for blood, because with this opener it's a little bit later when it comes back, so that causes the issue with that causes an issue with lining up the second one. But on fights that are continuous with no breaks, it doesn't matter. It ends up lining up eventually, and it works out fine. In fights with jumps, it can work out fine, but because it's a little bit later, it depends on when the jump is. If the jump is a little bit later, it ends up working better. If the jump is a little bit sooner, it depends. A4 Savage is a good example where if I do the Shasta opener, I don't have blood for the second leg. I don't have it right away at the very least. It's going to be isolated in its own situation. It won't line up with that trick attack, but it will line up with the next trick attack if I do it that way. So it ends up working out okay regardless. You can see there's pros and cons. So ultimately it comes down to a little bit of a preference and a little bit of a fight timing, but they are both completely logical openers, with the Suiton one being something that's been long used and it's been tested and it is good. It's just something at this point that it's a little bit a matter of preference and what fight you're actually doing. Next question. Hey, Happy, how you doing? How you doing? Did you just Joey Tribbiani me? How you doing? I got 2 questions. With Yoshi P's recent announcement for them nerfing A3 and 4 Savage, I can't help but wonder, am I the only one considering any less of a skilled player for completing something after the nerfs have taken place? Well, they say, oh, well, you beat it when it was easy. You're not as good as someone who beat it when it was nerfed, yada, 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 or whatever. Our group has been working hard on A3 Savage progression. Why am I turning into... I went from Joey Tribbiani to fucking Joey fucking Wheeler from Yu-Gi-Oh! So, we got to our ad phase final wave multiple times within our first week and after a 3-week break, and it would suck if I was considered any less skilled. Some people hold it over some people's heads. There's a very small percentage of the community, but they're the vocal small percentage of the community. So some people would harp on you for it. I wouldn't. I could care less. People beat it when they beat it, as long as they're enjoying it, as long as they're tackling it, and it's whatever. Honestly, I would feel worse if it was me and that happened. Like, the way you're thinking right now, I would think the same way. Like, for example, only BG beat Turn 5 before it was nerfed. And I beat it the day it got unnerfed. And it was like, I didn't feel satisfied at all. I was like, great, fantastic. Same with A4 Savage. Like, beating it after finding out about the sack strat, it was like, great, now it's over. Like, I wasn't excited at all because it was like, it's done, but I don't know. It's just how I feel about that. But I don't think that way of other people when they beat it afterwards. Unless they try rubbing it in someone else's face that they beat it, and they're rubbing it in someone's face who beat it before. It's like, you are picking a wrong fight, buddy. And 2, oh, and also, it's not confirmed he's nerfing it. He just says that if he doesn't see the right clear rates based on people obtaining Thornton weapons and people's clear rates on Thornton, we may see adjustments. It's not been confirmed, but I think that what you're saying is, with the way our community is, that is pretty much a confirmation. And 2, are you sure patch 3.15 is on the 15th? It is actually technically on the 16th. because it's Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. So it's technically the 16th, but yes, it is this coming Tuesday/Wednesday. Next question. Hello, I've heard it's customary to rant you an offering when asking a question, so here's a stack of serpent seals. Too bad I'm not a serpent. My question is pretty short. Do you think we'll ever see jobs gain a third cross-class option to draw skills to better incorporate Ninja, Astrologian, Dark Machinist, and future jobs with the rest of the jobs? So, first of all, those aren't classes, so no. The outright thing is no. Rogue, sure, Rogue is a class. Ninja, Astrologian, no, those are jobs. Those are not, you're never going to see any of those skills be used as cross-class skills. So no. I mean, I'll just answer it outright. I don't need to explain it anymore. Those are jobs, not classes. And this next question is going to be the last one. Apologies that I missed that one question that I said was good before. I hope that person asks again next week, and I hope they ask early, so that way I can get it done before I end up having no more time to get it. Because it was pretty good set of 2 questions, and I would have liked to have taken it on. But I'm going to take on this last question and then get going because the video is turning out pretty long. Anyway, hello, Mr. Happy. Hope you had a great weekend. Had a good one. It was all right. First time asking, so you get a bonus of elegant tomestones of prose. It's the new thing. So that's the next tomestone. Got it. Thanks for the spoiler. Maybe in an alternate reality. No, maybe in 3 months. I have 2 questions, but one it's more actually a call for advice if you don't mind. First, I'd like to know what uses the scholar in your rating group have for dissipation. I don't really ask them. I think they use it in their opener for whatever reason. Sorry, I want to adjust this. I think they use it in their opener at some point, but I don't know that off the top of my head, dude. So I honestly couldn't tell you. I mean, I can't. I don't know. I mean, it's bottom line. I don't play scholar. I don't look at his rotation enough to see when he's using dissipation, but I'm pretty sure he uses it when he needs to do burst damage with the stacks, maybe? I don't know. I think that's it. I think he uses it for burst damage with the stacks when he doesn't need the fairy healing for whatever reason. But, I mean, I don't know. I'm just talking out my ass. Second, I got the game recently last month and I've leveled only my Scholar to I-170 and have access to the next level 60 dungeon, but what I really want to get is into endgame content and rating as well as progression, new content. Problem is I have no idea how to start on that. I think I get this. This is one of those questions that I get once a week, kind of. I have no idea what servers are usually known. Can you give me any advice to the set path or any advice or any advice that I should go on about it? Maybe do you think it's too soon or should I wait a few more patches to go for that kind of content? I don't think it's ever too soon. I think it's a matter of timing though. We happen to be in the middle of a patch where raiding isn't super popular right now, and we're kind of anticipating what the next raid is going to bring our way. So you may have better luck in 3.2 in about 2 months, and in that time you should probably make sure you learn Scholar, get all your cross-class skills, make sure you get maybe some Party Finder experience. I mean, another problem is the only server I can confidently tell you about is Gilgamesh. And we've had an issue with Gilgamesh lately where people are just blindly coming to Gilgamesh without a plan. And it's actually lowering the overall skill level of the server to the point where a lot of people that, you know, were in raid groups that it didn't work for them before. They're now seeing that's not working for them there either. And honestly, that's when you start realizing it wasn't on your raid group. Part of it was on you. I mean, it's just something, and if I tell you to go to Gilgamesh, I'm not saying that you would add to that, but I'm saying you may not find it to be an adequate first raiding experience. The problem is, if I tell you to go anywhere else, then you may not see that rating experience till 3.2 anyway. So it's a pretty tough call, but Gilgamesh is a pretty popular server, and there are groups on other servers. There are plenty of groups on other servers. It's just a matter of getting into those groups with no experience, and I think 3.2 is going to be the point where you find it possible to get into rating, to get into it, and get that experience. Until then, I would, like I said, start mastering your job, research it, you know, like you're asking me questions, ask people who actually play Scholar a little bit more often, ask them those kind of questions, and you'll probably be okay. You'll probably have to ease your way in, do some Bismarck and Nirvana in the Duty Finder, try and Party Finder some Thornton, and if you can get some Thornton experience, if you can get a Thornton clear under your belt, even if they nerf it, that'll help you a little bit. I almost said little beast. That'll help you a little bit. So those are probably going to be your first steps. You may get lucky, you may find a raid group. Some people do. But you're probably going to have to put in some effort if you want to find a raid group that's willing to take a Scholar that has never set foot in Alexander Savage. It's going to be pretty rough, but I think that you could do it if you want to put the work in to get to that point. And on that note, don't worry about your grammar errors, bro. I'm not concerned about it at all. Thank you for watching this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. Again, one last time, just this over here, all these videos. Remember to tune in this Thursday for Black Desert. Be sure to come by the Final Fantasy XIV stream on Wednesday to check out the Anima Weapon questline and any of the other quality of life stuff. I will be doing a patch overview on Wednesday morning. I'll probably wake up super early to do that one. And then Blade and Soul next week, and then we have Christmas. So hopefully you guys got some plans brewing for Christmas. I'm going to be moving to LA on January 5th, don't forget, so I'll probably be dead silent on YouTube and Twitch for like the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of January. Maybe not on the 5th, I don't really know yet. And there may be some days where I'm not streaming as long because I want to spend time with my girlfriend. So thank you everyone for supporting the channel as you continue to do. I'm glad to be able to do these videos every week, and I'm glad to be able to answer the questions that I can get to. But anyway, everyone, thank you for watching. I will see you all for next week's episode, and remember, if you have a question, go to the description of the video, sign up on the Dream Network forums, and ask your question there. Hopefully I can get to it. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you all next week, and until then, take care.